This week in news, we talk about the Pokemon release schedule, one console to rule them all, a $70 Call of Duty, and Xbox's strikes. Extra, hear all about it. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast where Gavin poops on command. Gavin, if you would.
Wait, what?
This is where you poop, because I commanded
I'm
you to
good.
poop.
Bullshit, dog. I ain't Raz.
Poop on command.
No.
Alright. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms, and joining me today from Twitch's Graveyard, we have Gavin!
Yo.
How are you doing today?
I'm still tired.
Yeah?
Upset that this fucking armchair does not fit in the desk. Why?
My armchair does not fit at my desk either, so I understand that pain. I'm doing good. Boy, did we have a day at work today. And then also outside of work, I am looking at getting really focusing in on learning some programs so that way I can move into another job that pays me over double. And then at that point, me and my wife make as much in a year as what we're going to eventually buy this house for. So we'll be in real good position at that point. Obviously, if I can get it. And then I'll be doing even more gaming news besides this, but I won't talk about that right now. Just everyone keep your fingers crossed for me, all right? But anyway, this is Extra, your gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to Thursday, August 17th, 2023. And if you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom. We are currently, I think I've mentioned this before, we are currently, for our silver members, going through my old high school YouTube videos, and I'm doing kind of commentary on them. We're starting to get to the end of it, though. There's only a couple more left. And then also, you can also find us on YouTube. I usually mention that at the end. But we now have a video. We've had video for, I want to say, a month now. Well, actually more than a month, because I was streaming the podcast for a while. So yeah, we have video now. So you can check that out at the XofPlays on YouTube. But let's go ahead and get to some news. That's all the housekeeping I have. The first story is on, there we go. Pokemon release schedule. They said that they're looking into, how they can, how they release games so that way they can release higher quality games. And for a little context, 20 of the 27 years Pokemon has been around, has had new releases. Think about that. Everyone thinks about Call of Duty's yearly release. 20 out of the 27 years Pokemon has had a new release. That's insane.
Yep.
And most recently, the Gen 4 remakes, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet all came out within a 12-month window of each other. And then there were quite a few, let's call them QA issues were the result of all of that. And then they have 2 DLCs, the Teal Mask and the Indigo Disc to be released soon for Scarlet and Violet. Anyway, well, what do you think about them looking into how they release games?
Well, in my opinion, it's never good to, like, even if you're a franchise, it's never good to release games too quickly. In my opinion.
I mean, that's something that also came up with recently with Nintendo and Ubisoft. Ubisoft had this deal with Nintendo to make Mario characters with Rayman characters, the rabbits specifically.
Yeah.
And the first game was really well received and did really well. And so they decided to make a sequel. And Nintendo, I guess, they recently talked about this. Nintendo had told them, you should wait for our next console. You don't want to release 2 of the same game on the same console. And they're like, bitch, we do whatever we want. And then the second game, despite also being well received, did not do so great.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talked about that. But Pokemon, the issue with Pokemon is the highest grossing multimedia franchise ever.
Yeah.
I want to say it goes Pokemon, if I remember correctly, it goes Pokemon, Hello Kitty, and Winnie the Pooh. Which the other 2 are a little bit of a surprise, honestly. But,
right.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's above Star Wars. I think Star Wars is 4. I believe Mickey Mouse is 5. This is all off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up again, but so the problem is they do feel the need to release it constantly because they have that title and they know they can milk it. But the problem, there's so many things. You can stop me if you have something to interject. But they were also interviewed. I forget who said it. They talked about it on What's Good Games. But there was someone that had asked them why they don't expand their team, because they only have like around 200 people working there.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked why they don't have more people, and they say they like having a small team. You can't be making games at this rate with only 200, people or whatever. Like, these are big jobs. And it worked just fine. That was something that worked just fine on, like, the 2D era. Back when it was, the first 5 generations. Red, blue, gold, silver, ruby, sapphire, diamond, pearl, and black and white. Those games were all just sprite work, so you could, like, I'm not saying it's not hard to design a sprite, but there's not nearly as much that goes into designing a sprite as to what goes into designing a 3D model. And like you can kind of reuse sprites for like if you have a fire attack, you can kind of reuse that fire, for all the different fire attacks rather than just with 3D where you have to design each attack individually. You can kind of recycle animations a little bit with sprite work. So back then, it worked just fine. It's been in the 3D era where they have to design each individual attack. They have to kind of update the 3D models, and everything else. It's just you have to make the decision, and it looks like they're finally weighing it. But you have to kind of weigh your options. Do you want to have a more consistent cadence of releases, or do you want to have a smaller team that releases games less often, but they're higher quality because they have the QA time? And honestly, the fan base, I think, will end up forcing their hand because the fan base wants it both ways. The fan base wants new games. Like, people are already talking about, oh, do you think they're going to remake Gen 5, or do you think they're going to go back and remake, Gen 2? Because we haven't had Gen 2 in a while. Like, so now they're getting hit from all sides like that. Yeah, I think they're just going to end up having to grow their team bigger than they want to grow their team and keep the cadence, but have the bigger team to help with the QA.
Yeah.
Or even do what I mentioned Call of Duty before. What Call of Duty does is, and I'm not saying this is a great thing to do, but if they're just focused exclusively on that, it's a different thing entirely. But what Activision does is they have basically 3 teams. They've consolidated some of their teams and moved some teams to help support the projects. But they basically have 3 teams working on Call of Duty. And so it's like Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and I don't remember the third one. But basically they just keep rotating those teams. So one year, one Call of Duty from one of the teams will release. Then the next year, a Call of Duty from the second team will release. And then the next year, the third team will release their Call of Duty. And that's given a whole 3 years for the other, the first team to make a Call of Duty. And so they have that cadence where it's yearly, but they have 3 different teams releasing over and over and over again. And maybe that's something they look into. I don't know. I'll be honest, they're in a real bad spot because Pokemon fans want the games to not have the bugs. They want the games to look better. But they also want to keep getting games at a frequent rate. I think what they're going to have to do, even though they like having the small team, I think they're just going to have to suck it up and get big teams or have multiple small teams because there is just no way they can meet the Pokemon fan demands. And maybe they just decide to say fuck the fans and go with either releasing games with bad glitches, or not release games for a while and have them be real high quality. They might just say fuck the fans. The fans don't know what they want. What do we want? But yeah, Scarlet and Violet, despite being well received, that was egg on their face with some of the bugs. I showed you one of the graphical glitches, I think. Did I
Yeah.
with Wiglet
Yeah.
coming out of the guy's stick? Oh, what do you think? Speaking of Wiglet, you never did comment to me about what you thought of the 10 1/4 inch Wiglet plush that I sent you.
It looks like a dick.
Yeah, it does.
I figured that's why you were sending it to me.
Yeah. Um. Also, 10 1/4 inches, man. That's impressive. Uh, but yeah, having having quality games is a pretty ideal concept. And while we're on the topic of ideal concepts, one console to rule them all, one console to find them, one console to bring them all, and in the darkness, find them. What did you think of that? Huh?
I think I just finished my house finally.
Oh, nice. But what about my little reference? Did you get it?
It was a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yep. Uh,
I'm hip.
this story comes from the Final Fantasy 16 producer, Naoki Yoshida. I don't know. Do you know how to pronounce it? Naoki.
Naoki.
I.
Naoki?
That's okay. That's what I thought too.
Naoki or Naokai?
Mm, your guess is as good as mine. I
Hold
would
on.
love to have the time to actually learn Japanese names covering video
Hold
games.
on. What hold on. Naoki?
Yeah.
Said what's his name? Fully?
Naoki Yoshida.
Okay, hold on.
Uh, I wish I had more time to learn Japanese because
Alright,
I
hold on.
do cover video games. All right,
Alright, hold on.
you got it?
Give me just a second. Naoki Yoshida.
Naoki Yoshida. There you go.
Yep.
That's the one. Words.
I
Uh,
just Googled it.
but I just don't have the time. I've got so much to do. This house is literally falling apart around me. Please, send help! Send help!
You think he's joking? He's not.
Really not. So anyway, he said game platforms. I probably shouldn't say this, but I wish there was only one. It would be better if both develop. It would be better for both the developers and the players. Um, Again, he's the producer of Final Fantasy 16, which, along with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, are currently PlayStation exclusives. Um, and It's always been known that getting third-party exclusives are just as important as having first-party games. Another situation I can think of is the second game in the Tomb Raider reboot was a timed Xbox exclusive, and so many people lost their goddamn minds about it because the first one came out on both consoles, and then they're like, just kidding. The second one's only for Xbox for a year. Um, what do you think about uh, the idea of one console?
Mm, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Yeah, so like obviously he's not wrong. It would be better for developers and it would be better for consumers. That is not how the evil known as capitalism works. There has to be someone every time that something's successful. There has to be someone to come along and be like, I want in on that action. I'll do it. And so it's the ideal concept would never work. Like you look at after the video game crash of 83, Nintendo came out and had success in the video game market. And guess what? When they were going to release their second console, Sega's like, we're going to release one. And then they competed like that for a while. It's just, there's always going to be another company to come along. It's never going to be a one horse race because other companies will want a piece of the pie and come in. And then the other thing is PlayStation. I don't know if you know the origin of PlayStation. I was going to save it for an editorials, but I can kind of briefly mention it here. The PlayStation was originally going to be a Nintendo add-on. They're going to make a CD drive for the SNES, and Nintendo decided to go with another company instead. But Sony had already made the prototype, and they're like,
Yeah.
fuck it, we already have the prototype, we already have the name, let's just turn this into our own thing. So Nintendo literally created the PlayStation because they decided to turn their back on Sony. There's, like I said, there's more to it than just that. That's a very watered down version, but it just goes to show there is never going to be one console. I love the idea, never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Don't you love capitalism?
No.
What? You don't love all of the corporate overlords, the CEOs, making 500 times what we make?
I am the last person anyone would assume would love corporate.
Well, speaking of corporate decisions, $70 Call of Duty. This is a statement from an Activision spokesperson. As stated in numerous Activision Blizzard quarterly conference calls, Modern Warfare 2 is a premium release, or Modern Warfare 3, sorry. They already released 2. Modern Warfare 3 is a premium release, and it will be priced accordingly at $70. Again, that's from from a spokesperson, unnamed. Modern Warfare 3 plans to be revealed today, actually, later today. For us recording, it'll probably already have been revealed by the time I get this up. But it's going to come out November 10th on all the usual platforms. Modern Warfare 2 content will carry over to Modern Warfare 3. And the third game started as a DLC, but ended up morphing into a full game, similar to what happened with Tears of the Kingdom. So, $70 COD, yay or nay?
It's pretty standard, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Because earlier this year, Xbox started charging $70 for games. And then, speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom was the first Nintendo game in a very, very long time to be charged at $70. So yeah, it's like you said, it's pretty standard at this point. And honestly, compared to the rest of the inflation that's happened around the world, $10 really isn't that incredulous.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
But with everything else going up in prices, like there's going to be some people that end up dropping off of gaming because it is an expensive hobby and it's only getting more expensive along with everything else because
Yeah.
again our corporate overlords has decided they can't afford to lose any money, so they are going to recoup as much cost as they can out of our own pocket, but not pay us more because then they're not recouping anything.
Yeah.
Fuck the establishment. I now get all those I now get all those metal bands and stuff where they're like uh where they're like fuck fuck everything. Fuck everyone. I get it
Fuck.
now. I understand. But yeah, this one I'm fine with. It does it suck, yeah, but the world sucks. So that's my reading on it. Take that for what you will. Um all right. So uh so when you're playing Call of Duty, you're gonna have interesting lobbies. Let's just say that. Interesting lobby chat. Uh would you say that's a normal thing to say?
Yeah. Yeah. Not so much nowadays as in back in the day, but
Well, Xbox now has oh shit, I just remembered. Fuck. Hold on. I just remembered I didn't change any of the stuff. Okay. There's the one console. See it? See it? Alright, hold on. And then $70 COD. See it? See it? Alright. Now Xbox's strikes. See it? See it? Whew. That was bad. I forgot to change my the story on the the window, so everything was wrong. It was still on the first story. We're on the fourth story now. But yeah, no. Xbox introduced strike-based enforcement. This started on Tuesday. And so what happens is they attach a strike to a violation, and the severity of the strike depends on the strength of the violation. Like for instance, the examples they gave: cheating is 1 strike. Sexual harassment / bullying is 2 strikes. Hate speech is 3 strikes. Your strikes stay on the record for 6 months. So your strikes don't just go away. They're on your record for 6 months. And having 2 strikes is a 1-day suspension. Having 4 strikes is a 7-day suspension, a 1-week suspension. And then having 8 strikes is a year suspension. Xbox also has recently been testing the ability to record infringing voice violations that can be sent directly to Xbox for review, so you can have the evidence that they said what you said they said. And if this kind of sounds familiar to you, it basically is the strikes on your driver's license for traffic violations. It's the exact same idea as that. I know, Gavin, I know you don't have a driver's license, so you wouldn't know that, but yeah, that's the thing. Having
Yeah, well, I've also never been pulled over either, so
well, that's because you're not driving because you don't have a license, right?
I'm not driving now. I say, I
Allegedly.
don't think you're as. I don't think even. I'll fucking. I don't give a shit. Fucking like, I'm from the South. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I was driving for a decade before I moved up, and then I didn't have a car anymore. So I'm like, damn,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
that is crazy. But yeah, no, it's the same as a driver's license thing. What do you think of these of this system and their openness?
I mean, it's fine. I feel like it's gonna not work because it's COD, but
Okay, well, it's all Xbox games. It's not
oh,
just for COD.
oh,
It's for all multiplayer games. And that's another thing I should point out. I don't have it on my dock, but you would still be able to play single player games on your account, but you would not be able to play multiplayer. While
I
you're
guess that'd work
suspended.
well. I guess that. So, is the strikes game specific or is the strikes account specific?
They're account specific.
Oh, well, then people who play COD are fucked.
Yeah.
Like they just ain't playing games now. Sorry.
Yeah. And honestly, I like the openness. It seems weird to me that like there is such a massive jump from like 2 strikes is 1 day, 4 strikes is 7 days. You know what? That's makes sense. That's a reasonable jump. And then 8 strikes is a year. Which I mean, at that point, I understand. At that point, they're not going to be changing, so you need to do something drastic. But going from
Right.
1 week to 1 year is such a massive jump.
It really is.
And then
But at that point, honestly, like if you've gotten to the point where you're fucking
yeah, you're at 8.
yeah, you're at 8, then like, dude, you just don't need to be interacting with humans.
Yeah, that's just 2 hate speeches and a sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Like how one of our managers was gonna say, "Boy."
I love the innocence though of that whole situation
Oh,
because I know it's just because it's only because he's 20 years younger than him.
yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, oh, he's a kid in my eyes and shit. I understand that, but fuck, was that good? I was like, you can't say that he's black. He's like, wait, no, I didn't mean it that way. I was like, we know you didn't, bro, but damn, you can't just be saying that to people.
Oh man.
He, God, there's only been a handful of times where he's made me laugh that hard, but fuck, man.
Oh, that was great. We have fun at work. But yeah, no, they you know that we something has to be done because like I've mentioned
Yeah,
before, and this isn't on this is on Steam. It's not even on Xbox, but my wife will be playing a game because I'm not a big multiplayer person, but my wife is, and she'll be
Mhm.
playing games. She'll enter the lobby and they'll be like, "Oh, are you a girl?" You know, she'll say hi to everyone. They'll be like, "Are you a girl?" She's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "We don't play with girls," and they kick her out of the lobby. It's like, what the fuck? Or they'll
I,
flirt with her and she's like, "I'm taken," and then they kick her out of the lobby because she
I
won't
saw a
accept
thing where
their
someone
advances.
I saw a thing where someone put their phone number as like their username, and I think it was a Tarkov lobby,
Yeah,
and like it was like their her Google number or whatever, and they would like call her, and it was like, "Hey, is this really your?" It was like, "Hey, just so you know, somebody's got your number in this Tarkov lobby." She's like, "Yeah, no, that's me." It's like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I can't interact with women, so have a good day," and just leave. It's like this shit fucking kills me. It's like I can't interact with women. Sorry.
yeah, man.
Or I saw another one was like, as a gamer, I cannot speak to womans, so have a good
Yeah.
day.
Did you see? I think I might have told you about it. Did you see the stuff with the like the 300-pound guy with the like the e-girl girlfriend, and everyone lost their mind. Like, what? Why is she with him? And it's like, because unlike you, he's got the riz. That's why. Women don't care about what you look like. They care about if you're genuine and you're a funny person. Like, the amount of women I've seen say, "I love a sense of humor above all else." Like, and obviously that's not all women. There are some women that do prefer, you know, a certain look to them over humor or personality, but that is such a small percentage. It's like they lost their ever loving mind. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I also kissed Miley Cyrus and provided the tweet
Oh yeah, I
from
remember that
Miley."
shit.
And everyone's like, "What is this guy's secret?" It's like, it's not that hard, guys. It's really not.
See, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
it's weird because like there's people who are like that where they're just naturally hilarious. Brother, for
yeah,
example, my little brother is the funniest fucking person I've ever met in my life, especially when it comes to roasting people, dude. I've been genuinely offended about shit that he said,
yeah,
but it was also funny shit. And then there's people like me where like I'm not really all that funny, but it's not like I'm making unfunny jokes. I just don't really joke
yeah.
or make jokes, and then when I do, it's out of fucking pocket.
See, I make a lot of people laugh, but my jokes I know aren't funny. I know it's entirely my delivery. Like, I have such a like a serious delivery to the dumbest jokes.
Yeah.
Like, what was the one I said yesterday? And and my wife stopped and cracked up. And you're like, I'm going back to the garage now. Do you remember what I said?
I don't remember exactly what you said, but I do remember specifically like I'm gonna go back to the garage.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember. It was like, why is 006 afraid of 007?
Yeah.
And it was basically the 789, but it was 007, 008, 009. It was bad, but
Yeah, you said that shit and I was like, I'm gonna go off. now.
uh, but yeah. Anyway, that's it for us. It's now time for the outro. Do you want to do the outro, or you think you got it? You think you got it memorized?
Fuck no.
Why not? You've done. This is episode 76, so
How
you
many
could.
times do we have how many times do we have to discuss that? I, I have so I can't even speak English. Shit. I can't even remember how to speak. There's your fucking answer.
All right. Well, I like that answer. And if you liked or if you didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things like hitting the like button and the subscribe button And ding ding the bell. I just realized my ding 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 was the anime cat like hand thing, the paw thing. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, and hit the bell at the XofPlays on YouTube. Again, we finally kind of show our faces. It's my face and his Discord block. At the XofPlays on YouTube. We're giving a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. Like if you were to tell, for instance, Gavin, pay attention. If you told 2 people and then they told 2 people, that's 6 people that are now on our podcast. It just multiplies like that. It's great. Word of mouth is.
Why are you telling me to pay attention?
To help us grow. Well, I've been in your stream. I know you don't plug it.
I really don't plug my stream.
But you can plug the podcast in your stream.
Bruh. I don't plug myself. What makes you think I'm gonna plug you?
ABP, always be plugging. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefing-room, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.